Hello and welcome to the Sky Spirit channel. How are you doing? Right, today what I'm going to be doing is having another look at Johnny Depp, and specifically at Johnny Depp's love life. Now, if you've seen the previous video that I did on this, and if you haven't, I will put the link in the description so that you can have a look. What I found out was quite telling. So what we saw in the last video is that the cards said that Johnny was really sort of taking some time out and having you know, a little break from the pressures of life, and he was sort of having a period of self-reflection and trying to identify himself, where his problems came from in his relationships, whether that was his choices or the way that he acted in relationships. So if you haven't seen that video, then I would suggest that you go and watch that one now and then come back to this one, because in this one what I'm going to do is I've been asked to look further into Johnny Depp's sort of mind frame around his love life, around his relationships, and to possibly explore the theme of who the mystery lady is that keeps coming up in readings about Johnny Depp's love life. Last time I got that she was somebody who was close to him, they weren't actually romantically involved at that point. I think I did the video about a month and a half ago. You have to check that. But it was like they weren't romantically involved at that time, but it was certainly on both their minds. And she came across as like a healer, as somebody that could possibly have been working with him in a healing capacity. So yeah, so we're going to revisit that. I'm going to put that to the cards and see what we get back from them. Yeah, and then so what we're going to do is an overall update on Johnny Depp's love life. So if you are a Johnny Depp fan, then stick with me, because we're going to have a really in-depth look and see what we can find out. Okay, now I've been shuffling these cards before I came to do the recording. I'm just giving them a bit more focus and really clearing my mind, thinking about Johnny Depp's love life. So what do you have to tell us about Johnny Depp's love life and about what's happening in the near future with any romantic interests in Johnny Depp's love life? Okay, I'm going to lay the cards out over here, so just bear with me, and I'm going to put them out so that we can so you can see them as well. A great card to start with, isn't it? Great couple of cards to start. And there she is. Checking that you can see everything that I'm doing on here. Now this one isn't going to fit on, so this would normally be at the top of that column. I'm just putting it slightly off here. Okay, right. Now, instantly, what I'm seeing here is I'm seeing that this new relationship that is brewing, shall we say, that is, looks like to me that it's got underway, but it's embryonic. Okay, so it's just started, and it feels to Depp like the opportunity has been handed to him out of the clouds. Sorry, that was that way up. Handed to him out of the clouds. So it feels like it's something that he's always wanted, and it feels like it's a new way of being to him. It's a new way of understanding himself, and it feels like he's at the start of something which is quite unlike anything he's experienced before when it comes to love and relationships. So it feels like this period of introspection, this time that he spent almost like a recluse. I think he came out last time as really spending time alone, and his confidence had been really knocked. And now it feels like, if you see my card, I always look at the illustrations on cards. I think it's because I'm an artist as well. Like, I really get like the illustrations really mean something, and I want them to mean something to you as well, because if you look at the illustration here, the hand comes out the clouds of confusion. So it's like he's spent time in self-reflection, he's spent time feeling unsure of himself, then all of a sudden the opportunity is handed to him. It's like the clouds of confusion have cleared and the way now becomes clear. And what we have amazingly as coming out with these first two cards, and this is sort of the current situation, is the Four of Wands. Now the Four of Wands is a relationship commitment. It's something that is solid. A four is stable. It feels like this is new stability in his life. He hasn't experienced this before. And like, if you look at the illustration on the Four of Wands, it's fantastic. It's a couple and they are actually sort of sorting out some grapes. And when you see grapes with the tarot, grapes are hard to grow, and so in the tarot they symbolize something that's been a real challenge. But when you're actually now they're sort of sorting out the harvest, it's like he's spent time in reflection. Now he is harvesting what he has gained during that time of self-reflection. So it feels like he's at a stage now where he's reaping what he's sowed, and he's taken that time out, he's worked on himself, and now he's in a position where he can move forward for the first time feeling much more confident, much more sure of himself when it comes to his choices in romance and what he wants from his romantic relationship. Now this card is also sometimes called the marriage card, because it indicates, when it comes up in a relationship reading, something that's so stable. And if you see, we have the couple on here and they're under this bower of flowers, and it's so stable that it can lead to a really committed relationship, something where there's a balance of power and wants and needs on both sides, so it can lead to marriage. So these are really good cards for Johnny to start with. Now when we go, I'm going to go to this card next. This is the card that is what has sort of been the underlying drive and what's happened previous to this. Now, as you can see, what we have here is the Tower. The Tower indicates chaos and something that had to be changed from the foundations up. The Tower is knocked down, it's burnt down, it's hit from above, it's exploded, it falls down to the ground, okay? And everything feels like it's ruined. So it feels like that's where Johnny was before he went into this period of self-reflection. So he's literally felt that he's had to take time out in order to get his head straight, because it felt like he was at such a crisis point. He was at a point where he felt like he couldn't go on. He was really, it had taken so much out of him, and he literally felt like his whole attitude, his whole history of relationships followed the same path, and it's like destruction was needed. He knew that he needed to break down every single layer of his previous relationships and every single way that they have worked and not worked in order to come to a, you know, when you say, like, when you build strong foundations, you get a strong building. And that's how he now feels moving forward. It's like he's knocked it all down, he's blown it up, he's swept it away, and he can now build on strong foundations. And what we have immediately preceding this is our healer. So this is our lady, this is our high priestess, this is Johnny's love, and she is so strongly coming out as a healer. And what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to pull a clarifier on here. So what I've just pulled there is the Knight of Swords as well. So it feels to me like what we're seeing is that this relationship with the healer is happening now. But the reading that I did before, it was sort of in the future and it was just coming into his sort of energy field. It feels like now the wheels are in motion and it's moving forward. But the combination of the High Priestess with the Knight of Swords tells me that one of them seemed to be driving it forward, and it feels like it's Johnny who's driving it forward. It feels like he's almost impatient to get it started now, because he feels like he has put the effort in to sort his own head out, and he knows what he wants, and he wants this lady. He really, really does. She is so in touch with her divine feminine. Like the High Priestess knows what she wants, and she also knows, as another clarifier, she knows how to achieve balance, and she knows that more speed, less haste, or is it less speed, more haste? That's a saying, something like that. She knows that there's no need to rush into this, because in order to achieve that balance and to maintain it, they have to take things slowly. So it feels like he's pushing to go public, he's pushing to take things faster. But it's not like she doesn't want to jump into the relationship, because she does. Without a doubt, she's so close to this main issue here. But it feels like she uses her intuition and uses her really well-developed sense of like higher self and what she needs and her boundaries. She knows that they don't have to rush in, because to achieve balance, they can take things slowly. Now, this is also a card that sometimes comes up when, you know, when you're spinning too many plates and everything's going a little bit too fast. And that's why I think this has come up, because it's sort of that little like push me, pull you going on between the knight and his high priestess here. And she's the one that's not putting the brakes on. She's the one that's saying, whoa, 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 whoa. We don't need to go public. We don't need to announce this. We don't need to rush things here, because we've got the rest of our lives to do this, because this really feels like a soul level connection, something that they've both been searching for a long time. And the knight has been on the quest to find this lady. He's found her, and they don't need to rush this anymore. The balance is already there. So moving on to what's really in the sort of crowning this issue, and what I'm going to do here as well is I've just pulled a clarifier, because we have the Strength card, but I've also got the Page of Cups reversed, and this is like the crowning of the issue. And it feels to me that there is this Johnny is coming out as the Page of Cups reversed here, because it's that sense of his creativity was stilted. He felt like he could manifest the perfect relationship. It felt like he had the ability to, you know, find a woman who was his equal and who he shared life with. And he's tried so many times before, and his efforts have left him feeling the Page of Cups reversed. It feels like he was so despondent, he had so little desire to recreate romance in his life, that he was literally at a stage where he was almost happy just to leave it and remain single for the rest of his days, because his fingers were that burnt. However, his inner strength has really pulled him through this part of his life. It feels like that period of self-reflection he's resilient, he has endurance. And this card is also, when you look at the illustration on this card, it's a woman who's gently stroking the jaws of a lion, and then the lion opens his mouth without being forced. So it feels like Act 2, Johnny has had the endurance and resilience to get through this point, but it feels like he's also been very, very gentle about how he treats himself and also how he treats the woman. Now, she's also coming out here as the moon. That's another clarifier that I've pulled, and the moon is feminine, and it feels like he has been so gentle with her, balancing the strength with the feminine energy of the moon. It feels like there's been a real give and take already in their relationship, even before it became romantic, even before it crossed that boundary and became more than friends, because I think they felt the pull for each other so strongly. Now imagine the pull that the moon has on the tides. Now imagine the pull of that. Imagine feeling that pull emotionally, and that's where Johnny's been. But they've been so gentle about it, and they've been so careful about it, because he has been the wounded Page of Cups. He's really felt like that. When a page is this way up, sorry about the sun reflecting on my cards here, when the page is this way up, it's almost like impulsive and like just going straight in. That's what he's used to doing. but he became wounded. He became wary of doing that. So these cards, this energy comes into play where they've been so gently like walking around, tiptoeing around each other's needs and making sure that they're 100% sure before they jump into anything. So now moving across, this is the future card, and this is like the near future. So what's happening sort of now and moving into the next month. Now, this is a really interesting card. This is the Nine of Wands. Now, the Nine of Wands is often called by readers the Wounded Warrior card. So with this card being reversed here, what we can read this as being is that, you know, I mentioned before when we have the Page of Cups, he was like the wounded Page of Cups. He's like that boy that's lost that creativity, that inspiration, that confidence in himself to step forward. This card is telling me that he can now stop being so defensive. If you look at the illustration on this card, the guy's standing there like, you will not pass. I have to fight for everything. I have to stand up for myself. And with this being reversed, I'm reading this like he's been able to put down those barriers. He's been able to let his high priestess in, let her in to his physical life. So there's been a physical exchange between them. He's let her in emotionally, but he's also let her in his head as well, because I think Wands are very much headspace, and I think he struggled with balancing his emotions with what he knew in his head, because he might have felt the pull of her, that moon pull, but his head was also going, whoa, 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 you know this hasn't worked before, and all right, you've spent the time, you've done the self-work, but what happens if it all goes wrong again? Where are you going to end up? So he's had to spend some time dealing with that voice, dealing with it to enable him to move forward. But now he's been able to put down those barriers, and he's in a position where things are going to start moving forward. Excuse me, strongly, because these two are really pulled together. They're like the moon and the sun. Right, so moving across to my column here, we've got, this is how Johnny sees himself. It's a really interesting card, the Five of Swords, because it's somebody who's been in battle and then they've won the battle. Okay, so if you look at the illustration, this guy has won. He has beaten these two people that are retreating, but he's looking round. He's looking round, and it's a card that says, okay, I've won the battle, but was it worth it? I am worn out by this. And it's like, was it worth all the stress? And that really indicates again how he has been feeling about where he's been over the last few years and the toll that that's taken on him. So it's really sort of, and another clarifier here is the King of Cups reversed. So that to me is confirming that the emotional toll that these battles have had on him have created him as the King of Cups reversed. The King of Cups reversed is somebody who has literally swallowed their emotions, who is no longer able to deal with them, who's literally the kind of person, as I mentioned before, who said, I am done with relationships. I am done with giving my heart away because I just can't take the fallout from it anymore. I can't take, you know, what's happened afterwards, the consequences of when it all goes wrong. So he's looking back on that time still, and he's not afraid, but he's wary still. He still feels that pain. And I think what we've got here, I'm going to pull another clarifier, which is my Seven of Cups. We've got, she is putting on the table for him options of how to continue as well, because he's sort of, he wants to push forward, but he's aware of how he became the reverse King of Cups. He knows the consequences of making the wrong choice. So what she's doing in the background is putting lots of choice on the table for him. So she said she's not the kind of woman to push for what she wants. She sees it from his point of view as well. And she sees that there has to be compromise because of his position and because of what he's been through and because of really, I guess, the interest in his love life. So she is willing to compromise, and she is willing to you know, she's not pushing here. She's not the one pushing. He is. But she wants him to be sure. And she's still saying, hold back, hold back. You've got lots of other choices here. We can keep things sort of in the dark if that's what you'd like. So that's really interesting. That's him at the moment. Now, this is looking at people that are around him. And I've got a reversed knight here. And I'm feeling that people who are around him aren't particularly, and I'm pulling a clarifier here, and we've got the Wheel of Fortune reversed. I feel that people that are around him don't have the confidence in him that she has and that he has. He has confidence in himself now, even though he's still wary and he's still that King of Cups reversed feeling. He knows what can go wrong, but he's confident to step forward. But the people around him feel like he needs to put the brakes on. They feel like history might repeat itself. They feel like this could be another turn of that Wheel of Fortune, another history repeats itself, the same story, him jumping in. And it feels like he's struggling to get people around him to understand and to, I'm pulling another clarifier here, and I feel that there may be an issue that the people around him or even his family are concerned about him holding on to his money. They feel like she might be after him for financial gain, but I'm not picking that up at all from this reading. It feels like she has got his best intentions at heart, but the people around him are concerned, and those concerns are about history repeating itself and about the balance of his finances and whether or not he's holding on to his money, if you see that person is holding on to their money there, or whether he's you know, it would come up if he was considering marriage and he was considering marriage without a prenuptial agreement, for example. That would be a literal example of this feeling, although it might not be that literal, but it certainly feels like the people around him are more wary than he is and that she is. But I don't pick up any bad intentions from her at all. Now, it may well be, now again, this is just another literal explanation. It could well be that, as we know, she's been working with him in a healing capacity or in some kind of self-care or caring capacity. Has he been paying her for those services? And do people in his sort of close friends and family, are they concerned that she's nurturing the relationship in order to further that professional relationship and in order to secure that payment moving forward? That could well be, because I'm sure the people around him are very wary, especially considering what he's been through and the effect it's had on him, because really feeling him as this King of Cups reversed and also as the Page of Cups reversed over here, the person who was used to be so keen to jump in and inspired and creative in his relationships, and then it comes to a point where he just feels that he can't take it anymore, and he feels like, you know, he can't share his heart anymore. So that's certainly why the people around him would be feeling sort of less confident than he himself is, because, you know, when it's somebody that we care about, we look at it through we are so wary for them, and we're so aware of what can go wrong. And that is reflected in this card here, this position. I don't know if you can still see all the cards that I've got out here because I'm pulling clarifiers left, right and centre. But this is his hopes and fears card. And I'm going to pull another card here. And right, so I've got another clarifier on the go here. I do like my clarifiers. His hopes and fears card that came out is the 8 of Swords. And this is where he fears getting stuck in the same situation. If you have a look at the illustration on this card, that woman is blindfolded and she's in a prison of her own making made of swords. Okay, so that's conflict. And this could be reflective of the past relationships that he's had. For example, with Amber Heard, he was stuck in a prison of his own making and he couldn't see a way out. And the swords were conflict. There was that much conflict going on there. And it feels like he was stuck in it. He couldn't find his way out, and that terrifies him. So it does frighten him, this idea of being stuck. And he also knows that the period of contemplation is over. So not only does he fear being stuck back in a similar situation, he also fears being stuck where he is, because it feels like he is, at heart, he's such a romantic. And there we are, another clarifier. It feels like he wants to ride into battle and come back with that. See the bouquet of flowers on top of the wand there? That's somebody who's ridden into battle and has won, and who comes back with the spoils of battle. That's what they've won. So it feels like all at once he fears being stuck in the same situation, as in conflict with somebody. He also fears not moving forward, so being stuck where he is, where he feels like, yes, he's done the work, but he wants to move forward, he wants to take things forward, he doesn't want to stay as he is. But then what he wants, his hopes, these are his fears, his hopes are that he wins this battle. Let's do another one here. Brilliant, because I had to have, because we're looking at hopes and fears, I thought, sorry, these are our fears, we'll have to have a balance here, we'll have to have two more. So he wants to win this battle. That's his hope, is that this one is the final time where things are going to work out. And then we have beautiful, beautiful card. We have Temperance. And so Temperance is about moderation. And this is another card which says to me that his hopes for the future aren't just about the relationship, they're for him as well, and they're about the fact that he's done a lot of work on his addictions and his addictive personality, and the reason why he struggles in relationships. And it feels like this card is part of his hopes for the future. Temperance, it's about exercising moderation, it's about realizing that you have gone down a certain path, but it's about, and then you realize that in order to succeed in the future, you're going to have to moderate what you're doing. It's often a card that comes out when somebody is in recovery and it's working out well for them. So I think that is this relationship, although we're looking primarily at the relationship, the love interest here, what's also coming out is this is tied in with his healing that he's done on himself, and he expects this relationship to feed into his recovery in a positive way. So looking at, and I apologize if you can hear my dogs barking in the background, they always start barking when I'm doing a reading, it's always the same. So looking at the final outcome card, and I'm just going to leave this as it is. I don't think I'm going to pull a clarifier on this one, because we've got the Three of Pentacles, and this is about progress and using what you've learned in order to move forward. And it feels like Johnny's period of self-reflection has given him the skills he needs to move forward with this relationship. And it's also, this is a portal card. So it's like, now as I explain this to people, it's like this stonemason here, you get lots of stonemasons in the tarot, okay? He's like chipping away and making some pentacles. And these two elders here are discussing his progress and saying, yeah, he's done really well. Let's give this guy a promotion. He can be a proper stonemason now and make his pentacles in the real world. So it feels like what's being underlined here is that Johnny's done the work on himself, on his reasons for failing in relationships, and also his reasons for failing himself with failing to moderate his intake of certain things. And it feels like he's succeeded, and now he can move through the portal and he can tackle the rest of his life, and it's a really positive ending for this relationship reading. So good luck to Johnny Depp. It feels like a great reading. If you like my reading style, take a look at my website. I'm also an oracle and tarot artist. I work for various publishers. Have a look at my website, skyspirit.co.uk. You can also book a reading for yourself, a personal reading with me if you'd like on there. You can also find me on YouTube every weekday morning at 10:30 UK time, where I do a live tarot forecast for the day. And I also can take questions and answers, and I do the occasional mini reading on there for my audience members. So do stop in and say hello. Please remember to like the video. It's free and it helps me out a lot. Share it with your friends if you think they'd enjoy it, and please subscribe to the channel, because again, it costs you nothing and it helps me out a great deal. So it's been lovely to spend time with you. I hope you enjoyed that reading, and stay weird.